What should the Africa diaspora be doing, getting involved with, to ensure that we see the future of investment in Africa? And I want you to talk about policies.
I want Africans to start talking positively about Africa. The other economic concept is trust. Trust drive is the center of all development. And Africa is the continent where nobody trusts nobody. So how do I encourage the diaspora to go back to Africa? I tell my students and I've trained a lot of students from Africa. And I told all of them, I say, you are responsible for developing Africa. Corruption is a deterrent. African leaders need to invest in IT. That's one powerful tool we can use to fight corruption. African countries on average, they borrow money for 24% to 50% interest. So my message to African leaders, borrow from your citizens. If the government really wants investments to strive, put in place those basic infrastructure, water and electricity.
Now we're talking about the African dream. How are we going to fulfill that dream? First of all, tribalism is a major cancer in Africa that we need to address. We need to learn how to trust each other, and we need to engage in business together. So my appeal to my fellow Nigerians, don't let the language barrier stop you from doing business in Mali, in Burkina Faso, in Niger. Those three countries are pioneering the liberation of the Francophone Africa right now. I believe when we come together, the Western world will shake. Countries in Africa can generate a lot of capitals by making their countries safer and invest heavily in tourism. Tourism and real estate, those are some of the key areas where I think Africa needs to focus.
For us Africans, we do have businesses in Africa that have been having issues, like extending their borders and looking for ways to prove their worth in the international market. This is an opportunity where we can reach back into the continent and bring those businesses by way of joint venturing. So African leaders need to sit back and do things that the other parts of the world are doing. Tax cut. Make it very easy for young entrepreneurs to take loans and venture into the entrepreneurial world where it can drive innovation around Africa. My concern is the number of people that have lost their lives due to poor infrastructure. It is a shame. And there is tremendous opportunity for us to invest in this field and create jobs. What I am proposing is to utilize strategic partnerships to the like of joint venture to create and drive growth across Africa and give that backdoor access for African entrepreneurs to come to the United States and thrive in this $3 trillion market. Thank you very much, man.
Why is Africa rich yet so poor? This is a question we need to ponder on. I believe one of the key reasons I can mention within the context of today's discourse is the challenge of leadership and institutions. We need to have strategic planning, critical stakeholders engagement, and subsequent implementation of key action. The micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSMEs, play a major role in most economies. Unfortunately, access to finance has been a major constraint in the growth of MSMEs, especially in Africa. MSMEs are less likely to be able to obtain bank loans than large firms. Maybe we need to have a blended finance approach that could provide the key of allowing the MSMEs to have access to capital. There is certainly the need for the African diaspora to realize their huge stake in driving economic growth on the continent. We as leaders of the continent must focus on boosting transparency. We must also fund innovation. I entreat you all to take up the challenge and seek opportunities for investments on the continent. The options are limitless.